It was a bustling Friday evening at the Oakwood Bistro, a trendy restaurant in the heart of downtown. Known for its farm-to-table menu and stylish ambiance, it was a favorite spot for young professionals and food enthusiasts. Among the crowd that evening was a man named Ethan Davis, who had just arrived for dinner. Ethan was a man of simple taste despite his success as a self-made entrepreneur. With his laid-back demeanor and preference for casual wear, he could easily blend into any crowd. On this particular evening, he wore a well-worn flannel shirt, jeans, and a red MAGA hat, a gift from his father. To Ethan, the hat was more than a political symbol. It reminded him of his family's values of perseverance and standing firm in one's beliefs. As Ethan walked in, he noticed the place was almost at full capacity. He approached the hostess stand, where a cheerful young woman named Grace greeted him. "Good evening, sir. Do you have a reservation?" she asked. "No, but I was hoping to grab a table for one." "I don't mind waiting," Ethan replied. Grace scanned the room and smiled. "We're a bit busy, but I think I can get you seated in about 15 minutes. Feel free to wait at the bar." Ethan nodded and headed toward the bar area, unaware that his presence had already caught the attention of one of the waitresses, Lisa Turner. Lisa had been working at the Oakwood Bistro for nearly 3 years and was known for her sharp tongue and fiery opinions. When she saw Ethan's hat, her eyes narrowed. "Seriously?" she muttered under her breath as she carried a tray of drinks to a nearby table. "Who wears that in here?" Lisa prided herself on being outspoken and politically active. To her, the MAGA hat represented everything she opposed, and she had little patience for anyone who wore one. As she walked back to the kitchen, she passed by the bar where Ethan was seated, quietly checking his phone. "Unbelievable," she muttered again, loud enough for her co-worker Sarah to hear. "What's wrong now?" Sarah asked. Lisa gestured toward Ethan. "That guy over there, wearing that hat, in this restaurant. Can you believe it?" Sarah shrugged. "It's just a hat, Lisa. Let it go." But Lisa couldn't let it go. She felt it was her responsibility to make a statement, even if it meant crossing a line. When Grace seated Ethan at a corner table near the window, Lisa made sure she was the one assigned to serve him. Approaching the table with a tight-lipped smile, Lisa barely looked at Ethan as she handed him a menu. "Welcome to the Oakwood Bistro. What can I get you to drink?" she asked in a clipped tone. Ethan glanced up, unfazed by her demeanor. "I'll have some sparkling water, please." Lisa nodded and walked away without another word. When she returned with the drink, she set it down a little too hard, causing some of the water to splash onto the table. "Thanks," Ethan said, reaching for his napkin to wipe up the spill. Ethan was a true gentleman. He didn't want to cause a scene because of a small spill. Lisa, on the other hand, didn't even care about it. She just continued as if nothing had happened. In fact, Lisa didn't acknowledge him at all. Instead, she tapped her pen against her notepad. "Ready to order?" Ethan gave her a kind smile. "Not quite yet. Can I have a few more minutes?" Lisa's patience was wearing thin. She rolled her eyes and walked back to the kitchen, where she vented her frustration to Sarah. "He's probably going to leave me a terrible tip anyway," Lisa complained. "People like that always do." Sarah frowned. "You don't even know him. Maybe he's a nice guy." "A nice guy wouldn't wear that hat," Lisa shot back, sure that she was the one in the right in this situation. When Ethan finally placed his order, Lisa's attitude didn't improve. She took her time bringing out his food, barely spoke to him, and avoided eye contact. Other diners began to notice her behavior, with some casting, disapproving glances her way. Ethan, however, remained calm and polite throughout the meal. When it was time for dessert, Ethan asked Lisa for the menu again. She sighed audibly as she handed it to him. "Do you even have room for dessert after all that?" she quipped, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Ethan chuckled. "I've heard your chocolate lava cake is the best in town." "I'd hate to miss out." Lisa forced a smile. "Sure, one lava cake coming up." As she walked back to the kitchen, her co-worker Sarah stopped her. "Lisa, you've got to chill," Sarah said. "You're being rude and people are noticing." "He deserves it," Lisa snapped. "I'm not going to pretend to be nice to someone like that." Sarah shook her head. "You don't even know his story. Maybe there's more to him than the hat." Lisa waved her off and brought the dessert to Ethan's table, setting it down with a thud. "Enjoy," she said flatly. Ethan took a bite of the cake and smiled. "This is fantastic. My compliments to the chef." Lisa didn't respond. She turned on her heel and walked away, eager for the evening to end. When Ethan finished his meal, he left a generous tip on the table and made his way to the exit. As he passed by the hostess stand, he stopped to thank Grace for her warm welcome. "You've got a great team here," Ethan said. "Well, most of them." Grace laughed nervously, unsure of what he meant. Ethan tipped his hat and walked out the door. The next morning, Lisa arrived at work still feeling justified in her actions. She was busy setting up tables when the restaurant's general manager, Mr. Jacobs, called for a staff meeting. "Listen up, everyone," Mr. Jacobs began. "I have some exciting news. The owner of the Oakwood Bistro stopped by last night for dinner." Lisa froze. Her heart sank as she realized who he was talking about. "He was very impressed with most of you," Mr. Jacobs continued, "but he did mention some concerns about how he was treated." All eyes turned to Lisa. Her face turned bright red as Mr. Jacobs fixed her with a stern look. "Ethan Davis isn't just the owner of this restaurant," Mr. Jacobs said. "He's the reason we're all here. He built this place from the ground up, and he deserves our utmost respect. Lisa, I'd like to see you in my office." Lisa's stomach churned as she followed Mr. Jacobs into his office. The door closed behind her, and she braced herself for the worst. "Lisa, I'm incredibly disappointed," Mr. Jacobs began. "Ethan gave me a detailed account of his experience, and it's clear you let your personal biases interfere with your job. This kind of behavior has no place here." Lisa stammered. I didn't know he was the owner." "That's exactly the problem," Mr. Jacobs said. "You shouldn't treat anyone that way regardless of who they are. We're in the business of hospitality, Lisa. If you can't uphold that standard, you don't belong here." Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes as she realized the gravity of her mistake. I'm sorry, it won't happen again." Mr. Jacobs sighed. "I'm willing to give you one last chance, but you'll need to prove that you're committed to changing your attitude. Ethan believes in second chances, and so do I. Don't waste it." Lisa nodded, humbled and ashamed. As she left the office, she couldn't help but replay the events of the previous night in her mind. She had judged Ethan without knowing anything about him, and it had nearly cost her her job. From that day forward, Lisa made a conscious effort to treat every customer with kindness and respect, regardless of their appearance or beliefs. And while she couldn't erase the mistakes of the past, she hoped to build a better future, one interaction at a time. Well, one interaction is all it sometimes takes to ruin your life, especially if you are judging someone. Have you ever found yourself in situations like these? Let us know in the comments below.